Good Sunday afternoon. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates and Crystal Clear Weather. First off, I want to apologize for sound quality. I'm on the road with Joy. She's doing a Cincy thing down here in Cicero. So I'm going to do the TrueView Exterior Severe Outlook. The severe outlook during this year will be brought to you exclusively by TrueView Exteriors. That business is run by Alex, who was the one who actually set this page up for me back in 2015. So if you have any exterior needs, any storm damage, hopefully none of us will have to deal with that. But if you do, definitely reach out and get in touch with Alex and he'll get you taken care of. So we do have severe that's possible Tuesday and a Wednesday. There's still a lot of question about timing, but the Storm Prediction Center does have us in a slight risk for severe for Madison County and points to the west and northwest, with a marginal risk of severe covering southeastern Indiana. Where that risk has a little bit to do with the timing of when they've made this valid. So this outlook is valid through 7 a.m. Wednesday morning. Again, the timing of that is in question, and I'll show you that here as we get into it, as model data is really disagreeing, and the system is just now getting ready to come onto the coast, so it's too hard to look at satellite and time it out as well. The risks do work out to where the slight risk means that we have a 15 to 29% probability of severe weather within 25 miles of a given point. The brown area, which would equate to the marginal risk, means that there's a 5 to 14% risk of severe within 25 miles of a given point. So that's what the Storm Prediction Center has right now. But we'll take a look at some data and I'll kind of give you my thoughts on this. So here's a look at the European model on pivotal weather. And this is the lightning flash density. I kind of showed you this a couple days ago. I'm showing you this because it gives you an idea of where the convection might be. So we have the warm front that would go through the area early in the day on Tuesday, like Tuesday morning. This is at 7 a.m. You can see that the lightning activity is up to the north. If you look at the previous 6 hours, there's really not much there. So it develops with this warm front as we get into the early hours. Where that storm activity sets up is still in question. At one point, the European had it coming through here early Tuesday morning. Now it's got it farther to the north. But the main point is that, it kind of shows you that there's some juice to the atmosphere. This is with the warm front Tuesday morning. As we get into this is by 7 p.m. on Tuesday evening, you can see the lightning activity once again begins to pick up with individual storms out ahead of the front. That's probably something we don't really want to see actually happen. If we get storms that develop ahead of the main front, that's where we're at the greater risk of supercells and therefore at the greater risk of tornadoes. Right now, I think the tornado risk is relatively low, as I noted with my previous video. I think this is going to be a linear or quasi-linear line that comes through, and when they come through in a line, you can get tornadoes, but they're usually smaller, weaker, they're usually more brief. When you get those storms that develop on their own out in front of the front, then that's where you get at risk again of supercells, and that's where you get at more risk of your F2 and F3 tornadoes. So we'll see how that develops. But so we got the convection developing Tuesday evening, and then by the time we get around 1 a.m. Wednesday morning, you can see the European really has a lot of lightning going on. So that's a good sign that there's a lot of convection going on. So again, don't take the locations exact. This does have a good lightning storm coming through Madison County as this front passes. And then by 7 a.m. Wednesday morning, the European is pushing most of the activity off to our east and our south, but it does still have some convection going on in our Madison County area. So we do need to keep that in mind. But the greater activity is farther down to the south. And I do still think that areas from Arkansas to from northern half of Arkansas to the southern Illinois, southern Indiana is probably where the greatest risk of any kind of tornado activity is going to be in the overnight hours Tuesday into Wednesday. And then, of course, in the European, then gets that on out of here. Now, I said there's data discrepancies, so we'll take a look at some of that. First, just sticking with the European, again, we can see this is around 7 a.m. Tuesday morning, and just see some isolated cells to the north. Most of the day dry, and then by the time we get into the evening, then we begin to see the storm activity redevelop. But the European still keeps it pretty scattered, but it does get most of it in here and through the area this is by 4 a.m. Wednesday morning. The majority of the activity by this point, the European would have pushing off again down here to the southern Indiana, northern Kentucky area with some just isolated storms and rain around. And then the front really pushing its way through by the time we get to 7 a.m. Saturday morning. Now, so the European pretty much gets it in and out of here quickly, relatively speaking. As we're getting into the higher resolution data, it's coming into the range of the NAM and a little bit in the range of the NAM 3K and the Canadian high res. They're slower with this and actually bring the stronger activity in here Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon. So we'll take a look at that real quick. So here's a look at the NAM. This is at 1 a.m. Tuesday, 4 a.m. Tuesday, 7 a.m. Tuesday. It really has not a lot of activity in the overnight. It really doesn't do a whole lot with anything until we get farther into, this is by 1 a.m. Wednesday and 4 a.m. Wednesday. Then it begins to blow up the activity. You can see the front really is sitting back here over Illinois and is just beginning to get the activity together. And then it brings a stronger precipitation in here by later in the morning, Wednesday morning into early Wednesday afternoon, followed quickly by some snow. The European didn't want anything to do with any snow on the backside. The NAM data does. So this is as far out as it goes, 7 p.m. Wednesday, and it would have cold air in here, to have some snow in here. But it brings the convective activity in here, again, from Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon. So that changes the dynamics a little bit versus it coming in very late in the evening Tuesday into the overnight Wednesday, where we'd be in a weakening phase. The NAM is wanting to bring it in later, where we'd be getting into the point where it'd start to re-evolve and re-strengthen. And so what that would mean is we look at some of the severe parameters, it'd be something like this. As we look at the supercell composite on this is from the College of DuPage site, and this is the NAM. This is by Tuesday evening, and getting into the overnight and early Wednesday. You can see the supercell composite. There's a decent amount of energy in here, and it intensifies as we get into, this would be by 7 o'clock Wednesday morning, and then it pushes most of that out of here then by Wednesday afternoon. So the NAM is slower with this. It brings more of the strong to severe activity in here Wednesday morning, more around the daybreak and a little after time frame. So we're going to have to see how this timing works out. Again, the system is not really onto the coastline yet, so it's going to be this time tomorrow before we really have a decent idea of how this is all going to play out. So, but at this point, what I can say is there is a severe threat, in my opinion. It's I think the NAM is probably too slow. I right now would err still with our severe activity being more likely Tuesday evening into very early Wednesday. A little more in the timing of what the European has. I do think all modes of severe are on the table. However, strong winds are going to be our biggest threat. Now let me show you what the NAM has with that as far as wind gusts before I get off of here. But I do think that damaging winds are going to be our main threat, possibly some hail, possibly some very isolated tornadoes up here. Again, I think the tornado threat is going to be farther to the south, Again from in the Tuesday to overnight Wednesday, or early morning Wednesday, I should say, time frame, it's going to extend probably from the northern half of Arkansas through southeastern Missouri, southern Illinois, far southern Indiana, northern Kentucky. And then as we get into the day on Wednesday, then that's where areas more like southeastern or eastern Kentucky, most of the eastern half of Tennessee are going to be more in the threat for the severe by the time we're getting into Wednesday afternoon. That's the way it looks. The timing looks out for me right now. Again, the NAM is slower with this and would not put wouldn't bring those threats in here until we're getting into Wednesday morning. But let me show you what the wind gusts that the NAM has. And I think these will be valid regardless of timing, because the temperature gradient is so strong and the pressure gradient is so strong. I do think the winds are going to be very strong. So let me show you that real quick and then I'll get off of here. So we're going to take a look at Weather Bell. I don't know why it did what it just did. All right, let's see if we can get Weather Bell to cooperate with me here. These are 10 meter wind gusts. So here we are at early Tuesday, and we've already got some wind gusts hanging around 30 miles per hour. And then as we get into later in the day, here we are by 7 p.m. Tuesday evening. We're beginning to see some gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range, and then pushing more into the 50 mile per hour range as we get late in the day Tuesday into early Wednesday. And then as the front comes through, we can see that one more push of gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range before winds begin to relax back into the 30s by the time we get into Wednesday afternoon. So wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour, maybe localized wind gusts with certain cells stronger than that, I think are going to be on the table. So we'll see again how it looks as we get into the day tomorrow. But that's the way things are looking right now. Again, damaging winds probably the main threat. Last thing we're going to take a look here is a preview of the 7-day forecast. Again, we're going to be pretty warm tomorrow. We've reached the 50s today after being so cold and having snow yesterday morning. We're going to reach the mid to maybe upper 60s tomorrow, depending on the amount of sunshine. It's going to be very breezy as we get into the day on Tuesday. Again, mid to upper 60s. And then we're going to be looking at these wind gusts, 30 to 40 miles per hour. And then as we get into Wednesday, early Wednesday, wind gusts 40 to maybe 50 miles per hour. The temperatures are going to be dropping. Our high temperature on Wednesday is probably going to happen somewhere in the midnight to 2 a.m. time frame, and then continuing to plunge throughout the day. Again, the timing of that's in question, so we'll see how that plays out. But I think we're going to stay in the upper 50s until probably 2 a.m. We'll probably stay above 50 until about 7 a.m. and then the temperatures will really plunge on Wednesday. We'll watch for that possible early severe, then to rain, then maybe some snow by Wednesday evening, again depending on how quickly the precipitation gets out. If it lingers, we'll see some snow. If it gets out quickly like the European has, then we probably won't see snow. And we'll again have a quick one day, maybe a 36, 48 hour cool shot. To Thursday looks pretty cool, and then we'll quickly rebound again and be back up around 60 to the mid 60s by next weekend. And then we'll watch for another front early in the following week. That we're going to continue to see this where we're generally warmer, quick cool shots, and then we warm right back up. So that's what I've got for you for right now, and I'll update you tomorrow as the severe threat comes into better focus. This is Micah Mitchell with Madison County Weather Updates and Crystal Clear Weather. I hope you all have a great weekend.